Let's make sure it's working. Welcome in to Outkick the Show, presented by Oddshark. Go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. Live from my Costa Rican hotel room. That was my wife waving as she's going to the gym. Lots to get to today. I hope that you guys are having a good day. Got the nice shirt on today. I'm out here at a Costa Rican gambling event to discuss gambling. I'm speaking tomorrow, giving you guys a heads up. If you're interested in watching, I will be on live tomorrow at noon Eastern talking about gambling, giving you some gambling tips, and hopefully kind of laying out where we're heading in the future as these different organizations start to consider the gambling. Why don't you wave again as you're going by? Yeah. All right. There's my wife in the background. So I'm on a footage from my Costa Rican hotel room. Let me know if it's working okay. I hope everybody is doing well, and I am off and rolling here. Okay. Got a couple of things that I want. What is that in the background? That is my bed. That is my bed in the background for everybody who wants to know. Awesome time in Costa Rica so far. But again, I want to tell you, I'm giving an official speech of some sort tomorrow at noon Eastern. If you're bored on Saturday, you're hungover, you're waking up early, that will be the plan, okay? That will be the plan. A couple things that I want to hit off the top here. I am fascinated by the way that this Colin Kaepernick story is being covered. And in particular, I am fascinated by this question. Tell me whether or not this makes sense to you guys. The worst thing, several of you have been tweeting me this, several of you have emailed me this, and the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. The worst thing that can happen to Colin Kaepernick is he gets signed. Think about that theory. The worst thing that can happen to Colin Kaepernick's brand is that he gets signed to be a backup quarterback. Think about that. I want you to think about it for a reason. Because if he gets signed to be a backup quarterback, he's one of 64 quarterbacks in the NFL. Nobody cares about backup quarterbacks in the NFL. What's more, he will stop his protest, and effectively, he'll be selling out to the man so that he can make a small amount of money and not actually play. So think about this from that perspective. Is it possible, and this may be a crazy conspiracy theory, but is it possible that Colin Kaepernick is actually sabotaging his own ability to get signed by an NFL team? Think about it. We don't know what happened in that meeting that he had with Pete Carroll, but why did Pete Carroll consider signing Colin Kaepernick and then at the last minute suddenly veer away and not sign him? We've never heard a good explanation for what happened there. He had a face-to-face meeting with Kaepernick. What happened in that meeting? Moreover, as the Baltimore Ravens are starting to decide whether or not to sign you, your girlfriend goes on Twitter and compares the Baltimore Ravens owner to a slave owner, and says that Ray Lewis, who's, whether you like him or not, by far the most beloved Raven of all time, is an Uncle Tom. It's hard for me to conceive of anything that could happen that is more egregious than that if you're trying to get hired. I'm not an expert in getting hired. Fortunately, all I have to do is hire people now. I own my own business. But I'm pretty confident that it's not a good idea when you're trying to get hired in a competitive industry to call the guy who makes the decision about whether to hire you or not a racist slave owner. Just an idea, just tossing it out there. And that would further reinforce the idea that all Colin Kaepernick is going to be is a distraction and that his problems outweigh his talents, which has been my argument from the get-go. Now, tying in, if you didn't see that, go read the article that I put up on Outkick about it. But what is fascinating to me about this story is that ESPN virtually didn't cover it. ESPN virtually did not cover the fact that Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend called an owner in the NFL and an NFL Hall of Famer who's the most famous player on that team, an Uncle Tom, and a slave-owning racist. And nobody at ESPN covered it. All the time I say MSESPN is out there arguing for what they believe in the world of sports, for mixing left-wing politics and sports. Can anybody out there in any way tell me how it's not justified that shouldn't be the leading story. If you're going to be covering Colin Kaepernick like crazy and advocating for him to be the next huge Muhammad Ali, isn't the fact that his girlfriend called Ray Lewis and Uncle Tom and the owner of the Baltimore Ravens a racist slave owner, analogized him that way, isn't that a massive story? Isn't that beyond the shadow of the doubt an incredibly huge story that it's impossible to ignore and that you have to 100% cover at a bare minimum? If you're trying to get hired and you're arguing that you are not going to be a distraction, how in the world can you make that argument when your girlfriend comes out and says that Ray Lewis is Uncle Tom and that the owner is effectively a slave owner who is the equivalent of the racist man in Django Unchained? I don't think it's possible to make that argument. I don't believe it's possible to make an argument that that's not newsworthy. It's unbelievable to me that it wasn't covered. Again, the only places that covered it that I saw, you guys may disagree, the only places that I saw covered are me at Outkick, FS1, and maybe Breitbart. Nowhere else did I see it. Now, I saw it on the front page of the Drudge Report. I didn't see it anywhere on ESPN. When they are covering Colin Kaepernick like they are, when they argue that everything he does is major news, how in the world can they possibly justify, from a journalistic perspective, not covering it? This is why we're going to soon be selling MSESPN shirts. This is why we're going to be selling hundreds of them, thousands of them, and you're going to be wearing them all over the place. This thing is going to dominate ESPN. We're going to be dunking on the worldwide leader like never before. A couple other things, like people won't have me on their show if they know I'm going to dominate them. You guys know this. I've said it before. I've said it on this show. I'd be happy to go on any FS1 show. I would be happy to go on Undisputed and tell those guys why they're totally wrong about Cap. They won't do it. If you won't have me on your show and you have a different opinion than me, that's a sign that you're a failure, that you are not capable of being able to debate me and win. It would be a destruction. Because everybody who's arguing right now, and I say that for every show out there that is arguing this pro-left-wing, crazy Colin Kaepernick agenda, whether it's First Take, whether it's Undisputed, whether it is every show on ESPN, I would go on and I would dominate them in a head-to-head argument, head-to-head debate. That's what everybody says they want, right? Two different sides of an equation, both sides making their argument. There's not a single person on ESPN, and there's not a single person on FS1 or NBC, Mike Florio, I'll toss him in there too, or CBS that could handle me arguing against Colin Kaepernick. Every single show that's out there, I would dominate and win that argument because my argument's better and because I'm better at arguing. But it is crazy. It is crazy to me and clear evidence of media bias. The amount of rooting, the amount of pure endorsement that we have seen for Colin Kaepernick. Totally and completely, without any debate otherwise, true. That if you're questioning whether MSESPN is in existence or whether there's a huge left-wing media bias, there's no doubt that it is. No doubt. And I would be happy, and I do say it all the time on my own shows, and that's why we're dominating. It's why Outkick the coverage is dominating like no other morning show has before at Fox Sports Radio. That's why we are dominating here on Periscope and Facebook. You want to be entertained, in fact, look at this system I've got up right now. I got beer bottles holding up my show right now, and we got thousands of people watching on Facebook and Periscope right now. That's where we are, in a Costa Rican hotel room. All right, I've invited Colin Kaepernick on my show for a year. I would have Colin Kaepernick on my show, and I would only have Colin Kaepernick on my show for 3 hours straight if he wanted to come on. He could come on and be on for 3 hours, and I would allow him to talk about whatever he wanted to. He would just have to interact with me. 3 hours. Not going to edit it. Live radio. Had that opportunity for him for a year. He won't do it. No, Cowherd's awesome. He's not afraid to have me on. I'll be on Cowherd's show quite a bit. Cowherd's been on my show. The Fox Sports Radio crew, I got to give props. My bosses at Fox Sports Radio, Don Martin and Scott Shapiro, have put together the best 24/7 sports talk radio network on a national basis that has ever existed. You start with me, you go into to Dan Patrick, to Colin Cowherd, to Doug Gottlieb. That's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nobody else has even been close to being able to put together that level of talent. Again, me to DP, to Colin Cowherd, to Doug Gottlieb. It's a murderer's row. Absolutely, no doubt that it is the best lineup of all time. Okay, what questions? We're going to continue to move through. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones episode 4. By the way, what do you think about my thesis that maybe Colin Kaepernick is intentionally tanking his chances to get hired because he has more legitimacy if he is not employed than he does if he's employed? In other words, if he's just a backup quarterback in the NFL, he can't say that he's being blacklisted. He can't say that the NFL's conspired against him. He can't argue anything other than he gave up his protest to make a small amount of money. Right? A small amount of money. He's not Muhammad Ali. He's like Muhammad Ali coming out of jail. The worst thing that could happen to Colin Kaepernick is for him to get hired. Because once he gets hired, the story's over. He's going to stand on the sideline or kneel on the sideline or whatever he does. He's not going to play. And he's just going to be one of 64 starting or backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And everybody will stop caring. Right? Now, I still think it could be a bad move for somebody to hire him. But it's a much worse move for Colin Kaepernick to be hired than I believe it is for an NFL team to hire him. And so I'm starting to wonder, is he sabotaging his chances to be an NFL player because he knows if he can claim that he got discriminated against, that he's actually more of a figure than once he gets a shitty job in the NFL and becomes a backup and nobody pays attention to him because he doesn't ever play. That's actually pretty fascinating in and of itself. And I think, I'm going to write about this, I'm going to put it on Outkick here in a little bit, but I'm starting to think that might be Colin Kaepernick's endgame. At least if he was smart, it would be his endgame. Game of Thrones episode 4 has leaked. Game of Thrones episode 4 has leaked. If you have a link to it, I'm actually tempted to watch it. I might not wait till Sunday. If it's up there online, and a bunch of you have been tweeting me that you're watching it, if you have a link to it, tweet it to me. I'm going to make a decision about whether or not to watch it. Obviously, I love Game of Thrones, and I want all of you to watch it. But I'm down in Costa Rica, and I might go ahead and watch it in advance. Now, again, it's been leaked. We don't know who did it. Maybe it was the Russians. Maybe it was Trump. Maybe it was the DNC. No idea who did it. I heard that it is phenomenal, and I want to watch it now. If it's out there, then I want to watch it. All right? So that is my hope. Game of Thrones episode 4 of season 7 has leaked. Okay, a couple of other things. I don't know if you guys watch my Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat, Clay Travis. I Snapchat every now and then. I also put this video up on Twitter. If you're on Facebook, go follow me at Clay Travis. If you're on Twitter, obviously, hopefully you're following me on Twitter at Clay Travis. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. I went across a bridge in Costa Rica. And under that bridge, we went to the beach yesterday, which is why I didn't do the show yesterday. Went to the bridge in Costa Rica. And under that bridge are 40 crocodiles, many of them like 15 and 16 feet long. One of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. Again, you can go check it out on my Twitter feed if you want to see all these crocodiles. I'm going to tell you about them in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you, do you have a timeshare that you're looking at getting rid of? Are you just not using it or can't afford it? Let my friends at Magical Realty help you sell it. Magical Realty does not charge any upfront fees to sell your timeshare, only getting paid once it closes. Visit magicalrealty.com or email them at info@magicalrealty.com. They might be able to help you rent out your timeshare. If selling it's not the best option, contact them today. Again, it's info@magicalrealty.com, magicalrealty.com. So I'm driving across on my way to Yaco, I think is the way you pronounce it, an incredible beach town in Costa Rica. And I got to tell you guys, I've never been to Costa Rica before, but it's amazing. It's like you walk directly from a rainforest into a beach, and there's nobody on the beach. One of the most remarkable places I have ever seen. Beautiful, pristine, untouched by man. You walk right out onto the beach from a rainforest. It is awesome. Incredible atmosphere. If you're a single guy, lots of good-looking women, and I hear they even have whorehouses down here. I'm with my wife. You saw her walk by in the opening of the show. Maybe it's a good destination for a bachelor party. I'm down here, again, for those of you coming in late, I'm speaking at a gambling conference down here by the IFBC. I'll be doing a live talk tomorrow down here at noon Eastern. So if you want to come hear me talk about gambling, sports gambling, the future of sports gambling, social media, everything else, I will be on at noon Eastern. You can watch me here. I'll talk for an hour. It should be fantastic. But the Costa Rica situation, the wildlife is insane. It's beautiful. It's majestic. I would encourage all of you to make a trip down here. I will be down here until Monday. I'll be doing everything normal. We'll do our Game of Thrones reaction show on Sunday at 8 o'clock, whatever time it is, 9 o'clock Eastern, and or 10 o'clock Eastern, whatever the heck time it is. We'll be doing it live as soon as it ends, and I will be down here, and then I'll be back in the studio with my radio show on Tuesday. Yes, it is safe here so far. We've had an awesome time. Final news. I think that this is wild. This is insane. They are going to remake, this is crazy, Karate Kid. If you haven't seen Karate Kid, if you haven't seen this news, with Johnny and with Daniel LaRusso, they are playing their same roles 30 years later. Have you guys seen this? This is amazing, this story. I'm going to read to you if you haven't seen it. Ralph Macchio, Karate Kid, and William Zabka to battle in Cobra Kai series. Listen to this. Start practicing your crane technique because the original Karate Kid is back. Ralph Macchio, how old do you think Ralph Macchio is? How old do people think Ralph Macchio is? Vote on how old you think Ralph Macchio is. That is going to be incredible. Ralph Macchio, now 55 years old, will reprise the role of Mr. Miyagi prodigy Daniel LaRusso in Cobra Kai, set to premiere in 2018 on YouTube Red. He's 55 years old. Good guesses all around, all over there. Over 10 episodes, the 30-minute show once again pits Daniel against his teenage nemesis, Johnny Lawrence, a former student of the Cobra Kai Karate Dojo, where they faced off in the original 1984 movie. I remember, I'm old enough, a lot of you are not old enough. I'm old enough, I'm 38, to have gone to watch Karate Kid in theaters. 30 years after their match, Johnny reopens Cobra Kai, restarting his feud with Daniel, who's been struggling to manage life without Mr. Miyagi. Like everyone who grew up in the 80s, the three of us, Anyway, this is amazing, and so that is going to be an incredible television show. Will I watch all 10 episodes? Probably. I think it's likely that I will. So this came out in 1984. I was 5 years old at the time. 1984, probably about 10 years before many of you who are watching this right now or listening to this right now were actually born. So that is incredible. I appreciate the feedback. This is a shirt that my wife picked me out. If I ever look nice, it's because my wife has picked out the clothes for me. All right, questions that you guys have. We've hit on a bunch of different levels. The first one I think is the most intriguing. Is Colin Kaepernick intentionally tanking his career because it's more valuable to him not to be employed as an NFL quarterback than it is to be an NFL quarterback? We've got the Game of Thrones is leaked. Karate Kid is back in studios, and I've been telling you about how awesome Costa Rica is as I broadcast live from Costa Rica. Do I rapid fire bitches now? That means you guys can ask me anything. I will answer as many questions as I can for the next several minutes, and then I am out of here. Again, my thanks to Oddshark for being the presenting sponsor of Outkick the Show. Who do I think? What do I think is going to happen with the Dolphins? The Dolphins, obviously, as they try to figure out exactly what's going to happen with the health of Ryan Tannehill, I believe that they're going to sign Jay Cutler. I think Jay Cutler is going to get signed. I know him and Adam Gase have an incredible relationship, and my best bet would be that is who is going to get signed. Obviously, we don't know how long Tannehill is going to be out, but I think that Adam Gase is likely to sign Jay Cutler. I think it's because he's a better fit for their offense. Also, because I think that Colin Kaepernick is a total media circus down there because he said that he praised Fidel Castro. If you remember that game when they played against the Dolphins, I think it's hard in Miami in particular to hire a guy who has said that what Fidel Castro did for Cuba is an asset to the world and the global community when you consider how many people of Cuban heritage live down in Miami and how many of those people's families were imprisoned, had family members in prison, had family members murdered by Fidel Castro. You cannot, of all the places in the country, come out and say that Fidel Castro has done a lot of things better than America for all of the Cubans who have come over here, many of whom had relatives who were murdered by Fidel Castro. I think that's a non-starter personally. If I were the owner of the Miami Dolphins, I would not want Cubans and other Latinos in my community, not to mention all the people who were angry against Colin Kaepernick to begin with for the protests to start. I think probably Miami might be the worst city for Colin Kaepernick of all of them. No bueno. Good answer there to sum it up. No bueno. I did not watch the Hall of Fame game last night. Last night had an amazing dinner, was out at a spectacular beach resort, and I did not watch the Hall of Fame game. So I knew that both Dak Prescott and Carson Palmer were not going to play, so I had no interest in actually watching it. We will start Outkick Premium. Good questions here. Again, rapid fire bitches. This is where I try to answer as many questions as I can. I can't read them all, but I will. I believe that that in this situation, we will be able to start Outkick Premium. All of my gambling picks will go up on Sunday inside the premium section. If you want to gamble, you get all those. You also get meetups. We're going to be trying to do 10 different big Outkick meetups over the course of the year. We're going to go to Nashville, Atlanta, Birmingham, Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis. We're going to go to New York City and LA. That's my plan right now. Going to charge $100 for the year. It'll be $100 for the year, but you will also get your pick of an Outkick t-shirt. We're going to be releasing a lot of brand new t-shirts. So as many of you want to sign up, no monthlies. We're not going to do monthlies because I don't believe in monthly costs. I want everybody who's a member to sign up for $100, and you'll have a message board. We'll have our own social network. We'll have premium events that only premium members can go to. And so I think the possibility of this is pretty cool. It's an experiment. I have no idea how many people will sign up. I have no idea how it will do, but we'll give gambling picks on Sunday. You'll still get gambling picks on Wednesday, but I hear from so many people who say, I want the gambling pick as soon as you place your bet. And so I place my bets immediately on Sunday as soon as the lines come out. So I'm going to give you the bets that I'm placing at that exact minute, and hopefully we'll have another good year. I can't guarantee it in college football, but we've been nearly 60% for 3 straight years, and that's the plan. And on the message boards, no restrictions. You guys will be able to talk about whatever you want. I want to charge $100 because I want it to be a relatively high-end level conversation. My hope is that you guys, maybe you're moving to a new city. You can find out who the people are that live in Houston or St. Louis or wherever city you're moving to. There probably will be Outkick fans who live in that community as well. So it should be pretty cool. I mean, again, it's an experiment. I ask you guys all the time, trust me on experiments. Sometimes the experiments work out. Like Outkick itself, 6 years old, been a great success as a business. Other times I do things and they don't work out, i.e. pants, right? So I tend to think this is going to work really well, but for $100, cost is minimal, $70 if you pull out what the t-shirts and what the shipping costs and everything else. So $70 for a year. If you can't afford that or you don't want to pay it, that's your choice. You don't have to, but $70 for a year to me is nothing. I mean, that's $6 basically a month. If you don't think that I'm worth $6 a month or $1.50 a week, totally your choice. But to me, $1.50 a week is like what one newspaper would cost, and I hope we're going to give you more value than that. So we'll see. And we're also going to be doing a Vegas trip, which will, again, only go out. We're going to limit the number of people who can go, and my hope is that only Outkick Premium members will be able to go because we're only going to take like 100 or 150 people, and you guys will get the first opportunity to sign up, and then I'll open it up to everybody else after that. So that is going to be that's going to be a lot of fun. I will give you more details on that, but the plan is for right around August 10th for that to officially launch as part of Outkick. So what is that, like a week away? So consider this to be a go-ahead. Any other questions? I've said before, I'm happy to go on any show. I've said I'll go on any NBC show, CBS show, FS1 show, and ESPN show. I'm a free agent. I'm not employed by any of those places. I will go on any of those television shows to debate anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere about Colin Kaepernick, and I will win that debate. I have zero doubt about it. I have supreme confidence in myself because I'm the best at what I do. And I've said before, I will go on anywhere. Go on anywhere, talk to anybody. The fact that people might not invite me to come on is a sign of their weakness, not my own. What did they used to say at Fresno State? Anytime, any place, anywhere. I think that was Bobby Bowden's line. That's my line on TV. You give me an invite, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll be there, and I will wipe the floor with you. Believe that. Okay. I'm happy to hang out with you guys. I appreciate all the questions. I'll do a couple of more. Again, I'm in Costa Rica tomorrow, noon Eastern. Put it on your calendar, 11 Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. West Coast. As you're waking up from your hangover, we will have a special Saturday edition of Outkick the Show. It'll be me talking for an hour about what I think about the future of sports gambling is going to be at this conference down here in Costa Rica. I'll be taking questions from the crowd. You guys will be able to watch it here. And I think and hope that you will enjoy it. So, go on a Costa Rican show and talk soccer. Your dad knows a guy. I would love to come down here to Costa Rica. It's beautiful. My plan now is to come down and watch the U.S. men play at some point in the future. I have not watched the leaked Game of Thrones episode yet. I may be unable to avoid watching it because I'm a HBO obsessive. As you know, guys know I'm a Game of Thrones obsessive as well. The grand jury for the Trump investigation. I don't know. You never know what's happening with a grand jury investigation. It's a good question. I was in Washington, D.C. in college during the Ken Starr grand jury investigations surrounding all of the Monica Lewinsky mess. And I remember driving past at the time, I think it was the E. Barrett Prettyman courtroom, and they had the grand jury in there for months at a time. It's hard to know what's happening in front of the grand jury. It's hard to know what the testimony is. It's hard to know what the grand jury, from Mueller's perspective, is pursuing. So that in and of itself is a challenge. So I hate to speculate on what exactly it means because we don't know who the focus is. We don't know what Mueller's pursuing. We don't know what information the people who testify in front of the grand jury will give, just that it's oftentimes a months-long process. And it's hard to, like, anybody out there who's speculating, saying, oh, it means this or it means that, totally unclue what exactly it's going to go. We are going to have the UCF kicker. Donald De La Haye is going to be on with me Tuesday. Next week, he's going to come on Outkick the Show, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. Will I own a sports book one day? Probably. I feel good about that. If sports gambling becomes legal, I think that Outkick the sports book probably happens. We'll certainly be affiliated in a substantial fashion with someone if sports gambling becomes legal. Outkick the sports book, I feel like, has a decent chance to end up happening one day. All right, I love all of you. I'm going to go write a little bit on Outkick. Again, tomorrow, noon Eastern, I will be talking at this sports gambling conference taking place in Costa Rica. I love all of you. We'll be launching Premium Outkick next week. Near the end of the week, I will also be in Las Vegas Friday and Saturday night of next week, meeting up with my buddies at Oddshark. Remember, go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. I am Clay Travis. Kisses to you all. DBAP, get ready to sign up. $100 for the year. Outkick Premium, meetups, gear, and gambling picks, plus a message board that is filled with people who ideally are not pussies, all for $100. It's going to be a steal. I love all of you. DBAP, I'm Clay Travis, live from Costa Rica. This has been Outkick the Show.